back now with Inside the Issues. According to the Center for Information and Research on Civic Learning and Engagement, or CIRCLE, an estimated 31% of eligible voters aged 18 to 29 participated in last year's midterm elections. That's promising, but how do we get even more millennials to vote in the future? Here to help answer that question, we turn now to two campaign consultants, Michael Trujillo and Carmen Chang. Thank you so much for dropping by.
Thank you for having us.
All right, let's say I'm running for office and I really want to do well with all those millennial voters out there in California. Tell me what to do. Carmen, let's start with you.
Yeah, I definitely reach out to them in all kinds of ways imaginable, not just the traditional routes of, of course, door knocking is really important, but definitely use your social media, spruce that up, whether it's the Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Go to the schools and ask to create support groups, students for your candidate. Ask them as well for their advice on how to spread the word.
Yeah, but does that seem any different at all for how you would get to a lot of other people these days? Is there anything specifically, Michael, that you would say, here's what you really need to do just to capture this particular demographic?
Well, I mean, like Carmen said, it's an all of the above strategy, right? And you really have to talk about what their issues are. And that's different across the country. It's different locally. It's different in different parts of the state. And so you just really have to understand what they care about, what they're passionate about, and have them be part of your leadership. It's one thing to have them volunteer. It's another thing to sort of talk to them via Instagram. It's another thing if they're actually a part of the campaign team and they're helping form the policies that are coming out of the campaign. That's when a millennial, because voters aren't dumb. Yeah. They understand and see themselves being respected, whether it's a policy position, whether it's going into their neighborhood. I mean, we're just like everyone else, and so if you respect and honor us, we will respect and honor you with their vote.
That's a really good point. Now, you mentioned it varies region to region. Here in Southern California, are there particular issues that you feel like really resonate when it comes to reaching millennial voters?
Yeah, I would say, millennials really care about kind of the day-to-day issues that matter to you in your lives. So, frankly, climate change, right, and the environment. Sure. The fact that in sunny Southern California right now, it's raining. It's been raining over the past few months. Something like this are issues that,
Housing,
really
I would imagine, has got to be, it's really hard for people of any age to buy a house.
And it's hard for us to afford to buy a house because we have these massive student loans.
Yeah.
And so when you talk to the millennial, generation, you're talking about making college affordable or free. You're talking about housing that actually they can afford and not have to drive 2 hours just to get to their job. Sure. And then you're talking about actually paying them a living wage. And so it really comes back to the generation of the 50s and 60s that had these things. I think millennials and young people are saying, we kind of want what our grandparents had. Yeah. And that's not too much.
I want to go back for a moment to how you get that message out. And for so many decades, it was you bought ads on television, and that's how you campaigned, and ads on television are expensive. Putting stuff out there on social media, pretty much for the most part, is free. How has that changed the game when it comes to campaigns, especially campaign coffers? Carmen?
Yeah, definitely. It's an easier medium for folks to get on, right? You could use it from the comfort of your couch or while you're cooking in the kitchen. You don't necessarily need to turn on the TV. You just have your phone on and you're paying attention to whether that's Facebook or, hey, these are all of my neighbors and friends that are posting. This is a hashtag that's trending. Ooh, this is kind of interesting. I want to learn more about, what's going on. What are the issues that people are talking about here?
But I feel like there's a downside of social media. And we heard a little bit about it earlier in the things can travel really quickly, things can be interpreted the wrong way. And one of the things I'd be curious about is when we're talking about millennials and younger people who are actually running for office, they've grown up with the internet. They've known nothing but. And they may not know when they're 12 or 13 maybe and tooling around on Instagram that someday they will be running for office. Is there a risk there that in these days, if someone will find, no matter what is out there in your past, it will be found? Michael, can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah. And if you do op research, which I have occasionally done.
Opposition research, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so when you are a younger person and you've been on social media, whether it's because your parents have put you on there or you were doing it yourself, it's a treasure trove of stuff that campaigns will use either for or against, and that is a bit unfortunate because the previous generations were able to do silly things and get involved in hijinks and shenanigans and not have that be posted on Facebook for the world to see.
Right. You know, you just made me feel really bad there, because the thing is, I've always thought of it as about like young people themselves shouldn't do things, but I post pictures of my kids. You know, I've got a baby boy, and who knows, someday he may want to be president, and I might have ruined that by putting goofy pictures of him online. Staying with that kind of trust factor for a moment, when it comes to younger people running for office, we talked a bit earlier on the program about sometimes older people don't necessarily trust younger people, millennials. Carmen, how do you get over that hump? How do you sell yourself when maybe you don't have that experience?
Yeah, I think that, you know, in light of what you were just asking, you know, that authenticity factor, there's things that may have happened in your past that you may not have wanted to see online, but I think being very transparent about who you are as the candidate. Yes, I may or may not have made mistakes, but this is who I am. This is how I've grown from my mistakes. As
like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez owning her dancing even when there was hate, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And she's being, you know, this is who I am. Yes, I may trip up every now and again, but this is the day in the life of my experience, and I really think that supporters or folks who are just kind of tuning into the process for the first time are really understanding, wow, I didn't know that when AOC was doing the freshman orientation that, you know, someone mistook her for a spouse and pointed her to the other direction. You know, she talks about and documents, this is what I'm going through as a female, as the youngest member in Congress. And, you know, I think voters really care about understanding, you know, the lives of these electeds.
Well, there is a lot to be seen as we head towards 2020 when it comes to these younger voters. Thank you for enlightening us. Carmen Chang, Michael Trujillo, we really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do not go away.